Hello everyone, it's me the narrator again. Today I'm going to be doing episode 3 of season 1 of the Dark Man's War. The captured ship with Chief Nakum at the helm proceeded to pursue the Admiral ship. Unfortunately, explosions were happening all around them as the enemy ships had been alerted that the islanders were in control of the warship. Fiddle, keep on loading those cannons, Nakum shouted. Cool, get us into range of the main ship, Nakum called up the tower. The ship turned and drove itself closer to the capital ship. A cannonball hit the deck. The ship rocked as it dented the metal. A cluster of explosions also hit the deck a minute later, stinging some poor tribesmen standing on the deck. The capital ship was close, but two warships made an attempt to crush their ship by surrounding them on both sides. The ship sped up and just barely made it through the small gap. However, the ends of the enemy ships damaged the back of their ship. Both ships behind them hit each other, but did not take significant damage. The capital ship was less than 200 feet away. They had finally reached it, but were immediately boarded by enemy troops. "This is the end of the line for you," a tall man boomed from the capital ship. Presumably, it was the Admiral. "I'm Admiral Mohan. I'll be taking you back to the homeland as prisoners of war." A quick fight ensued, but the tribal warriors quickly fell, many enduring injuries, but none of them dying. "Get them below deck," Han said with a snarl. To the common eye, it looked as if the tribesmen had lost. But they had not lost yet. Yakul had been given a special assignment to get the information out of the ship and try and rendezvous with Kara and her survivors. Hopefully they had not left yet, but he had a sickening feeling as it had been over an hour since they originally stole the ship. Yakul climbed up and onto the deck by using some rope with a hook on the end. He left his small boat at the side of the ship. He snuck onto the main deck where he heard someone telling them to get them below deck. He assumed that was his fellow soldiers. He sighed as he knew his people had failed, but Nakum had known he probably wouldn't have succeeded in taking the capital ship of all things. So he had sent Yakul to find the information. Thankfully, the Navy men took his soldiers onto their captured ship so they could retake their so it meant less soldiers on the Admiral's ship. He crept around the deck and hid behind some crates when he heard footsteps coming his way. He heard someone walk down the stairs and down onto the next floor. He followed silently. He crept around slowly, following the man. The ship floors are entirely made of metal. He had never really seen any more modern ships. Most of the tribal ships were canoes, kayaks, and sailboats. He was careful not to make a sound, as walking on metal makes a clanking sound. He saw the man walk into a room and shut the door. He came up to the side of the door. He prayed that whoever was inside was the Admiral. He opened the door, and inside was a tall man with a moon on his uniform. It was the Admiral. He was tall, had an awful-looking mustache, with slick, greasy hair. "Who are you?" the man said. Yakul rushed him, adrenaline surging in his veins, as he put a hand over the Admiral's mouth and brought him down. The Admiral punched him in the stomach, and he fell back, gasping for air. The Admiral pulled a knife out and slashed Yakul's right arm. Yakul dodged another slash and kicked the Admiral's face. The Admiral yelled in pain. Yakul kicked the knife away and gagged the Admiral with rope. "Over there!" someone yelled. Apparently soldiers had heard the racket. "Looks like we have company," Yakul muttered to himself. He knew that if he had to face the Navy man's swords and his wooden armor, it wouldn't hold up very long. He had to move. He took the knife into his hands and put it against the Admiral's throat. He opened the door with one hand and grabbed the Admiral with the other. He returned the knife to his free hand and put it against the Admiral's throat. The soldiers pointed their swords at him. "Don't move, or I end your Admiral," Yakul said, menacingly. He wouldn't mind doing the deed. After all, these people had attacked his home and destroyed it by now. Soldiers let him pass, but followed him with swords pointed. "Don't call for help, or else I end him," Yakul commanded. Yakul carefully stepped back through the hallways and onto the stairs, heading up backwards. He came onto the main deck and walked slowly to where his boat tied to the rope. "Help!" one of the soldiers yelled, alerting others. Yakul threw the Admiral down onto his boat and jumped down, holding the rope, but he got rug burn from sliding down the rope that fast. Thankfully, he was wearing partial gloves. He yanked the rope down, flinching a bit as the metal hook fell, started rowing away. The capital ship started shooting away at his ship. Apparently, they knew that it wasn't in their control anymore to keep the Admiral alive, so they might as well take Yakul and the Admiral down. However, his boat was small enough to narrowly avoid the cannon shots, and he managed to get away. However, finding Kara would be no easy task. He kept rowing, even though his hands hurt. He rowed, trying to get to the 8th and the last island. It took him 20, maybe even 30 minutes to get to the 7th island. He was finally exhausted, but he found a fellow villager getting into his boat. "Take me to the 8th island," Yakul said, dumping his prisoner in the boat. The villager nodded, and they were off. Yakul looked back at all the other islands. Only the 8th was safe, but only for minutes at the most. The villages were on fire. Enemy soldiers burning things and arresting any resistance they met. His home was gone. As they got to the 8th island, they met up with Kara, who was getting aboard the last big boat they had. It was a bit crowded, but they fit. "Where's the chief?" Kara asked. "He didn't make it. The Stark savages captured them, and most of the soldiers," Yakul said. Their boats left the shores and headed into the seas. They knew that the enemy ships wouldn't follow, as soon they would enter Frost Kingdom territory. Plus, they probably didn't care, as they were insignificant. 3 medium barges were all that had escaped. I couldn't save most of the villagers. At least half of them chose to stay and fight, even though we had more room for the men and women that stayed. We managed to amass a lot of food for the week's journey that it will probably take to get to the Frost Kingdom. At least we have food, but we lost this battle, Yakul said. "I did capture their admiral. He has some information that could help us in some way," Yakul said. "Good. Maybe it'll come in handy," Kara said. "Yep. In fact, I'll interrogate him now." Surprisingly, the Admiral was weak and easy to crack. "My troops are going to build up bases on the Keast Islands, and are going to prepare an invasion fleet for the attack on the Frost Kingdom," Admiral Han said. "For a tall man, you sure talk easily," Yakul said. The Admiral looked away, ashamed that he had betrayed his country so easily. "It looks like we may have gained an ally from the Frost Kingdom. Once we give them this information, of course," Yakul said. The 3 barges sailed off into the night, as the islands they left behind burned, and the Dark Empire won its first battle.